people fail because freedom is an absolute lie. It's that very freedom that people are chasing that then keeps them from putting together the structure. For most people, what that translates to is, I don't want discipline. I just want to wake up and do whatever I want. Does that sound kind of like how a 5-year-old thinks?
Welcome to the Masters of Business podcast with Daniel Beer.
Hey guys, I have a special episode for you today on Masters of Business. It's just me and you. Over the course of the next, we'll see, maybe 20, 30, 40 minutes. We'll see how long we want to rip together. I'm just going to share some things that are top of mind that I have on my heart and that I want to just share with you if you're on the entrepreneurial journey, if you're building a business, if you're scaling a business. And there's just so much bullshit out there that gets in the way. So much of it. I want to just tear through some of that in this podcast episode right here on Masters of Business and get to it. And that is starting with the lie of freedom. The key reason, or I think the primary reason, I should say, that most people fail in their entrepreneurial journey, and you know the statistics, right? I mean, they're out there. There's all those statistics that are, I haven't had any of them memorized, but 80% of businesses fails within 5 years, blah, 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 all those. The key reason, the main central reason for it, that these talented people, just like you, end up, quote unquote, failing. And of course, we could have an entire debate on what failing really is, what it means, is because they're chasing a lie. They're chasing a dream that was sold to them by, I don't know what, man, by Instagram, by you name it. And that dream, that lie, that illusion, that mirage is called freedom. So many entrepreneurs get in the game trying to get away from some kind of aspect of their life that they didn't previously love, that they thought they were meant for more. And it's very likely you are meant for more. But when that thing you're trying to get away from is routine, is having to show up at a certain time, is having to perform, accountable. If you are trying to get away from that and move toward freedom, well, no wonder people fail, because freedom is an absolute lie. See, in entrepreneurship, it's that very freedom that people are chasing that then keeps them from putting together the structure that is so necessary in order to win at a high level. It was Jim Collins wrote the book, Good to Great. And in the book, he writes about the flywheel. And to get the flywheel effect, that momentum, big mo, in business, well, you need to show up on a routine basis. You need to get away from this idea of freedom that is killing you. And in fact, that boss that maybe you're running away from your previous life, from that job you didn't love, and so you went and chased your own dream, and so did I, by the way. I encourage you to. But you have to become aware of something that is so critical, which is that you now need to go find, develop, become the most ruthless boss on the planet, far more than the one you left behind, far more than the one you were trying to get away from and move toward, this unicorn rainbows and bullshit freedom thing. Well, guess what? The new boss in your life has to be absolutely ruthless in the consistency, in the discipline, and in the accountability that boss holds you to. And that boss is you. You become your own ruthless boss, or you become one of the statistics that make up these sad, right, Instagram highlights about how many entrepreneurs fail in the thing that they sought out. And that's also just something that people don't understand. The entrepreneurial journey is a journey toward greatness. It's a journey toward finding your absolute best self in a certain discipline that has, and it has to have, some kind of a business model around that discipline that, of course, gives utility and value to the marketplace that the marketplace is looking for. And when those things are all true and you can hone all that together, well, as long as that market need is out there, then the game is really in, are you going to show up and become the true best version of yourself, the absolute master of the game in that space you happen to be in? And what I mean by that space you happen to be in is, you'll hear a lot of people, for example, I come from the real estate background, and the most successful people in real estate that I have interacted with over the years across the country, really impressive people. And yes, impressive people, as unimpressive as real estate agents might be sometimes. And there's just no barrier to entry into that world. So you get kind of anybody, everybody rolling in there. But the most impressive of them, they are ruthless in their pursuit of becoming their absolute best selves. And what's interesting about it is if you listen to what they say, they don't think of themselves as being real estate people. They think of themselves building value for the marketplace wrapped around the vehicle of real estate, while others might be doing the same thing wrapped around the vehicle of maybe being the owner of multifamily housing or of laundromats or of a tech company or of bio. It doesn't really matter what space it is. There's some science to it where if you're in one space versus another, then there's some strategies and some techniques that are going to be maybe a little bit different from one to the next. But for the most part, 80, 90% of what we do, what you do, your goal, you're listening to this because you want to be great at business. And the goal is to understand that it's actually an exercise of becoming great at being your best self, becoming you. It's a reflection. That business will be a reflection of who you are. And the thing that might get in the way, the thing that will kill the entire journey, is if you buy into the idea that what you actually want is freedom. Because for most people, what that translates to is, I don't want discipline. I don't want consistency. I just want to wake up and do whatever I want, when I want, how I want. Well, doesn't that sound kind of like how a 5-year-old thinks? The people out there that you sometimes look up to, that you want to be, they say, man, look how that person has this, can do that, can do. Well, that's because they have been ruthless in so many other, in the vast majority of the time that you don't get to see on a regular basis. And it brings us to a really important principle, which is that balance is a lie. Man, go talk to the most successful people that you know and go find out how balanced they've been. See, this idea, and of course it depends on how you define balance. Is balance that you spend 25% of your time doing this and 25 that and 25 that? Well, nobody has reached great heights in any space. I don't mean some success. I mean the kind of success that you are here on this podcast listening for, taking notes on. That the reason you come back to this week after week to listen to the amazing guests that we have every single week in different industries with different disciplines to find those nuggets, those trend lines that make the fabric of success, of mastery, of greatness. And not one of them was this balance that is sold to us in the just soft society that we now have. They were intense about their discipline. They worked longer and harder, and yes, smarter too. And what they understood was, I just stepped into the arena of entrepreneurship, meaning I no longer have weekends. I no longer have 8-hour work days. I no longer have 1-hour lunches. I no longer have holidays. But if I create the kind of ruthless, savage discipline, if I be the most savage boss for myself, over time, I will earn not just my holidays and my weekends and my, maybe forget 8-hour workdays, 5-hour workdays, or 6-hour, right? Not only will I earn those basic things, but I'll earn what the public out there looks at and thinks, holy heck, like, look at how much and what this person can do with their personal life. How on earth did they get so darn lucky? And what they will not, of course, understand is that you did what few people are willing to do, so you get to do what few people get to do. You get to enjoy the fruits of winning the game in business and of having managed yourself, which is the hardest person that you'll ever have to manage is you, and doing it at a very high level. So you end up being able to take that trip to Europe, to take the 2 week skiing, to be there at your kids' games at all times. You end up being able to take those trips, those vacations, the vehicle, the things that most people think you start off with. No. And what you know, if you're on that journey, if you know, is they're not even the goal anyway. Most people that are operating at a very high level that I interact with, they enjoy some toys, sure, but they hold them not nearly on the pedestal that most of America holds them at. Not even close. Not even close. And they're interesting human beings because have more than they need, and yet they keep pushing and fighting every single day that they're at the office. They keep pushing and fighting all the time to win. It is just the way that human being is wired. And so that's really one of the things that we have to ask ourselves too, that you must ask yourself right now. Are you committed to what it takes? Because let me tell you, I'm sorry that all those children's books out there told you that, oh, you just, add some value to the marketplace, sing and dance, be nice and good to people, and voila, you have a big business. It doesn't work that way. I remember coming home from work at 7, 8 p.m., having a quick dinner, and then going back to the computer until 2 a.m. for years. I remember waking up on Saturday and Sunday morning to call expired listings and see if I could take over the business. I remember on New Year's Day for years, while everyone else was hanging out, having fun, and being with their families and their friends, I remember waking up on New Year's Day and making 3 hours of phone calls because I knew people would be home and they'd answer. I know, and I've lived, and I've been in that. And so let me tell you, if you're here for freedom, you're going to fall flat on your face. Because that thing you envision as freedom, it's out there. It exists. I could take off right now. In fact, I'm looking at, do I take a 1-month ski trip right now? That is my conversation I'm having back at home. I likely will. But if I'd shown up for just to do that, I wouldn't have been patient enough to do all that I had to do to earn the right to even consider the possibility that I can go on that trip. So freedom is a lie. Balance is a lie. Now, balance can also be truth if you redefine it. What if you define balance as showing up in your work like a savage, but when you're with your friends, when you're with your family, your kids, your parents, or whatever it is you're doing that at 100%, being fully focused there. Now, all of a sudden, balance might be possible. But if you're just thinking you're going to, I'll just work my 8 hours and then I'll go here and then I'll go there and then I'll go, that's like being the jack of all trades, master of none, and you will not be great, period. One of the things that I've changed recently in my life in order to further optimize my day, my work, is I've changed up my morning routine. And I have to admit that I felt like just, what's the word, like trapped, not trapped. I felt this is bullshit, man, that's out there about waking up in the morning and having some kind of hour-long ritual, right? Of like, let's wake up and let's do jumping jacks and let's pray to the stars and then let's get up and then let's meditate and then let's walk around the room 17 times. And Let's hum like like the monks in the mountains, and let's go then journal and read 10 pages of a book and walk around and go get a gym and come back. And before you know it, you're an hour, 2 hours into some routine. You've been awake this whole time, but you haven't actually done a darn thing in your work. And so I did that for a long time. I have to say one good thing came of it. I did learn the discipline of waking up early. And so I'm keeping that. But the new routine is wake up 5:30 in the morning, 2 hours of focused work. Wake up at 5:30 in the morning, drink some water, hydrate my body. And by some water, I mean a big 16-ouncer. Hydrate, right? So have a pint of water. Get hydrated, get my brain working, and just simply sit down at my desk, at my computer, and work. 2 straight hours. When no one's bothering me, when there's no gotta minutes, when there's nothing getting in the way, when the phone's not ringing, I'm not looking at it. And I'll tell you what, because I'll tell you what my real struggle is, by the way, too, because it's not like I've been perfect at this. The thing that can blow me off this plan is if I look at the phone, if I go on the news, if I tend to visit CNN and Fox just to kind of see everything that everyone's saying and then make up my own mind. If I go there and God forbid I open social media, I might be blowing up my morning. But my new plan is, I used to wake up, go through this whole routine, go to the gym. I mean, there was so much going on until I finally sit down at my computer and start doing my work. But by then everyone was awake and doing, bothering me. So 5:30, hydrate, 2 hours of straight work. At that time, go and drop off my kids at school. When I drop off my kids, and if I'm not dropping off my kids, then go to the gym. But or just go and drop off my kids, and from there, I'm at the gym at 9 a.m., 9 to 10, and I'm at the office about 10:10. I'm not far from the office. And you might say, Dan, you're not getting to the office until 10:10. Yeah, but I've done 2 hours of focused work. I've done 2 hours of the most important thing. I've done 2 hours of having done the thing that the night before I sat down and prioritized. I wrote down in my journal exactly what I was going to tackle that next morning. So I wake up and bam, I'm in the most important thing that I can possibly do for that day. So when I'm coming into the office at 10:10, I've already crushed my day. And I'm making, and the final little piece to this is I'm making an absolute habit. Now I've got on Mondays something that I just literally immovable at 10 a.m. But aside from what was already programmed that is immovable on a recurring basis, I'm no longer taking meetings beyond 11 a.m. Prior to 11. And so that's my new routine. My new routine is kind of, wake up, hydrate, and crush it for 2 straight hours, and then go to the gym. And I just am telling you, man, if you are feeling like exhausted from your morning routine as you try and find this balance and all these things that you're sold, if you're exhausted from it, take me up on this. Just flip the script. Flip it for 2 weeks. See how you do. See what ends up happening. Remember, key is stay away from that damn phone. That's why you have to journal it the night before. Journal what you're going to do, what your priorities will be when you wake up that day. Stay away from the phone, particularly the news, and God forbid social media. That one will kill you. And you will see how much more productive you are, how you get more done because the most important things are done. And this isn't some concept I'm introducing into the world. I mean, Brian Tracy years back, right? I think it's been decades now, wrote that book, Eat That Frog. I think it was Brian Tracy. And if not, sorry, Brian. And sorry, whoever did write it, I'm not giving credit to. But I just want to share this with you, man. You're going to hear amazing interviews on this podcast. Share the podcast. All I do, look, I put all this in, and I do it for free. You don't get charged for it. The content is there. These people, these amazing guests come forward and they share. And we ask nothing of you other than to subscribe and like, because it helps the algorithm understand that this is something other people want to listen to. So please like it. Please subscribe to it. Share it with your friends. We're also wanting to pursue this beautiful entrepreneurial idea. But the reason it is beautiful to be an entrepreneur, to be a business, it's because it's an expression of your best self through the package of some kind of service toward the marketplace. But at the end of the day, once you've decided if you're packaging up bowling alleys or restaurants or realtor services or mortgage or biotech or whatever you're packaging up, once you've decided on what it is, then the principles, there is a common thread. And we are unpacking, unveiling, and finding that common thread, bringing it forward for you so you find a faster path to the life you want and the impact you want to make. So this is Masters of Business. I'm Dan Beer, and we are going to keep bringing it for you. Thanks for sitting with me. Sit with this. Freedom's alive. Balance is alive. Fix that morning routine. And most importantly, go be that savage boss that you need to be if you're going to have any shot at having what and who and finding that real best self. Who you are meant to be is right there already within you. You just have to let that beast out. And we're going to help do it together right here on this podcast. Out. See you next time.